Alright, round two, since it got cut off. This is basically all the stuff that was used within the multi-mesh stuff to separate the meshes and then assign them accordingly for setting up of applying textures. There's render mesh so that it goes through each mesh and properly calls the render from that. And then from there we could just go straight into model tools to physically show how all the premids are constructed. So here are all the classes. Only one that was truly added, I believe, was pyramid repeated structure. The rest were just commented out. Within model tools, we have the create unit box, which is given to us by you, and then there's the create repeating unit box texture, which I added the UVs, not UVs. Well, yeah, technically I added the UVs to back in the day during the homework, but now there are the normals, so it interacts with light properly, which is there. And then the creating unit sphere you've seen from, I believe, homework 4 is when we did it. Either way, this is the sphere code, and the major change is adding this slice of UV code here to actually apply some UVs, although they aren't exactly correct, but nonetheless they are UVs, as well as the normals themselves, allowing for, again, light interaction and then allowing to apply an actual texture to the model itself. Past that, we have the create unit pyramid, which is again one you gave to us, but then what we transformed for the pyramid repeating structure, in that we also added our own UVs as well as grabbing our own normals. Now the normals themselves, I decided to create just 3 vectors to hold essentially the matrix that is passed into the first 3 vertices and obtain the normal from that, and then set that based off of grabbing the normal of the cross product of the 2 points. And that's done for each set of 3, except for the very last one, since that is a square. We could reuse the normals from when we did the repeating texture. Not the repeating texture, the repeating cube texture. Now the create unit box 6-face texture, that again was created a while back, but what was added is the UV, so it properly interacts with light. And we use this as a base for creating the, not algorithm, but the code to produce a skybox. Now, from there, I'm going to go straight into the DX app to show you how everything was set up, and then I've removed a lot of extraneous usage of stuff. So here we're calling all of the models, matrices, and vertices that are used, as well as textures, shader textures, shader texture lights, actual graphic object pointers, and last but not least the floats used for camera speed and rotation speed, as well as the movement on the actual objects. Now, these are a lot of textures and a lot of models, but each have their own use. Some of the textures were used only because the TGA files that were included with some of the objects were trash, and I could not use them. So within the actual DX app, after including all of the relevant header files, we start off with creating the actual shader texture and shader texture light through a pointer, and create a directional light for the shader texture light and send it to it. And then we create the terrain used things. The main difference here is the terrain model takes in a TGA file for a height map and then builds upon it, along with filters for Y transition, length, and UVs, the number of UVs to repeat. And then the actual texture also takes in a filter for min-mapping, or proper mappage to do with that, with whatever texture you pass it. Oops, forgot to rename that. This here is used for a tree, since the factor I pulled had really messed up UVs, but the tree that was out there was fairly nice. Here is for the bowl that I use as the texture I apply to it. PU is for the factory building that I use on the actual UFOs, since they look quite industrial. Six-face texture is a skybox that I decided not to use, but instead I just applied it to the six-face box. These are all pretty self-explanatory. There's the sphere model, the actual six-face model, the box, pyramid, the chest model, Bryce models. I guess I doubled up there. My bad. Let me just boop. Texture model for crate face, sky texture for the actual UV, the box I decided to use, not box, the skybox model, not model, texture. Here is all the things to create the chest that was shown in the very beginning. It takes in a shader, it takes in a shader pointer and a actual model pointer. Sets its material, sets the textures based off of the multi-mapping of that specific one. Otherwise it would just fill it all with a single texture, if not like defined later. Here's all the spheres which show up within the bowl as balls, and they all take in the rice texture just because, but they also all take in the shader texture light and the P shader mod, or the model for the sphere. The boxes all pretty much take in the box model except for box 2, which takes in the six-face model, and then again they take their relative textures and set their shaders as such. The terrain, as you can see, I got pretty angry here. Takes in a terrain model pointer and a shader texture light to interact with light properly. The pyramid takes in a pyramid model pointer. It's not an actual pointer, but just a model pointer that has pyramid as the actual model. This is a graphic box that I use for the spinning graphic box, which I'll show later. Here are the 3 UFOs that are spinning above that has the spotlights attached to it. Here's the bowl that's used, and the factory is actually just a tree. I just forgot to rename it. And here's the creation of the skybox, which takes in the shader, the device, the length used to scale it, and the actual skybox texture. And here's just setting up of all the worlds. I set these 3 vectors up here to properly, I guess you could call it, translate the lights along with the UFOs. And then this is, since it's all an SRT world, which is really weird, but I've accepted it at this point. This is how I create the world matrix for the UFOs. The terrain world is just translation mixes. Factory world, again, multiply it, which is just, again, a tree, but to flip it on its correct side, which was rotating on the X by about 90 radians. Here is Emerald 3, the chest world, all the worlds used for sphere, which are in different places, box worlds that are used in different places, and then just setting the world to each of the graphic objects within the actual application. Within update, the Emerald 3, which is using the spinning box, is multiplied and, I guess, in an additive function to be rotated around the y-axis by object speed, which is 0.03, and then the graphic object updates the world. Same with the UFOs, but they also provide the position to the vector set up earlier to be used in the actual lights. A key little trick that I found from talking with some folks was setting the skybox's world to the camera's world, so you can never truly clip through the skybox, rather it moves with you. Within draw scene, we set the context, the shader texture, and then set up light parameters for the actual spotlights. As you can see, they're listed as spotlight parameters 2, and spotlight parameters 3, so that I can set up each light individually based off of a function call, while also setting it to the shader in use, while also sending it sets up the context and sends the matrices while grabbing the camera position to again send it to light parameters, along with all of the data set up from before. Here is all the tests for calling send fog details. So the first test was to make sure it didn't show while playing. Second one is an actual what was used in the scene, and third one was just messing around with extremely large numbers to get a grasp on that true default value. And then here's just setting the shader texture camera matrix, since the only shader texture object is the skybox, since that's all we since we don't need light interacting with the actual skybox. Before actually switching to or setting the context as a shader texture, we call all the renders within all the graphic objects, which includes bfuckyou terrain, which is a graphic object terrain light. But on the last of the draw cycle, the psky is called. And yeah, that's it. Here's all the cleanup of it. And as you can see, if we scroll up, the ref count is at 3, so it's barely leaking any memory. I'll play it again one more time, and then I did there. Alright, so as a last look at it, there's the bowl, there's the rice texture being used on the terrain, and it just disappeared because of EBG. And it's back. So, rice texture bowl, rotating cube. There's your unit 6 face. There's 3 different cubes with different light values on it. There's the loaded in tree and the loaded in multi-mesh chest. There's the separate spheres. There's the fog that is covering the texture map, and those are the 3 UFOs with the lights connected to it, just to be spinning. That is all. Thank you, and I again wish to die.